What is going on, family? My name is Stevie T, and today I just wanted to do a quick video just explaining what I've been up to for the past couple of weeks over on a mission trip to the country Lesotho. Now, if you've never heard of Lesotho before, it's a very small country, probably I think it's slightly bigger than the size of Wales, and I'm talking like the country Wales, not a whale. It is a lot bigger than the fish whale and slightly bigger than the country Wales. So it's a small country in the middle of South Africa, so it's landlocked by South Africa, and it is a country of many hills and mountains. It's a country that's surrounded by some beautiful scenery, and it's just an absolutely amazing place to be. So first of all, this was my second time actually leaving the UK. The first time was last November when I went to Portugal for a couple of days with a few friends. It was a lot of fun, but this was quite a big thing for me to go from the UK all the way over to Africa, and so it was a very long flight, which was alright, it was chill, and then it was a long journey because we landed at Johannesburg airport, which meant we then had to drive all the way into Lesotho, which was about 5 or 6 hours. So it's not it was, in total, it came to like 17-hour journey, which is pretty crazy because you can drive from the top of Scotland all the way down to the bottom of England in like 10 hours, depending on how fast you drive. It's probably more like 15, but hey ho, we travelled a pretty long way. Now, as well as that, it was a huge culture shock for me because I've only ever been, like I said, in the UK. So to travel to a country like that and just to see like so many street vendors around, and just the taxis always driving around beeping, the traffic lights seeming like they're only a recommendation or a suggestion rather than actually stopping or going, as well as it being quite a rural country as well. So seeing all the different types of villages and just seeing how the architecture is very different to what it is here in the UK. So the reason that I went out on the mission trip was we went with work, and so I work for a Christian charity, and we partnered with a Christian outdoor activity centre over in Lesotho. So we travelled over there to spend 2 weeks with them, and while we were there, we ran a camp for children from child-headed households. So these are children who have lost their parents to AIDS, HIV, or just whatever the circumstances, so they're in a pretty rough state. And so we had them come to us for a few days, so we went, picked them up, brought them over to our camp, and we basically just got to spend a weekend having fun with them, giving them a break from life, and just doing loads of activities and singing and dancing, had a campfire and all things like that, which was a lot of fun. So some of the activities we did were climbing and abseiling, did a little bit of archery, a little bit of water sports like paddle boarding and canoeing, as well as a little bit of kayaking as well. We also did like lots of team games with them, and like I said, lots of singing and dancing, which was so much fun. And while they were staying there, we got to eat with them as well, so we had breakfast, lunch and dinner with them, which just gave us a chance to get to know the kids, get to know a little bit about them and what their interests are, and just to have a fun time with them, sharing some fellowship with them. Now, because they were only kids, this did mean that sometimes the language barrier was slightly difficult, especially with the group that I had, because I had a slightly younger group. And so all the kids were absolutely lovely, but sometimes they just didn't understand what you said if there wasn't a translator about. That made things slightly more difficult. For example, I'm out on the water and I'm looking after some of the canoers, and I've got loads and loads of these kids on paddle boards all around me, and they just disperse. The second we got onto the lake, they just go for it. They're going in every single direction, and so I was sat in the boat. I was like, look guys, you need to go back and find your instructor, like paddle backwards, and they're like, yes, they just power it forwards and just got it away. It's like, no, you're going in the wrong way, where are you going? And it was just a lot of fun, absolute carnage, but yeah, a lot of fun. And amongst all of the fun and laughter and all of the games and eating, we got to spend some time doing what we called some God slots with them. This was just an opportunity just to wind down, chill out, and if they had any questions about anything, we could chat to them about that. And we also went through the story of David and Goliath with them and talked about overcoming giants and how we have overcome some giants in our lives, and giving them some, I don't know, just some helpful ideas as to how they can overcome some of the giants in their lives. And so overall the camps were so much fun. We had a lot of good times with them, and it was absolutely amazing. So once the camp had finished, we put the kids back in the van and we took them back to their homes, and then we cracked on doing some things to help out the centre that we were staying at. So we helped to build a low ropes course for them, so just a few more activities that they can run themselves. We also got to do some work with some of their trainee instructors, and so we got to take them on the water, did some canoeing and some paddleboarding with them, just gave them some coaching tips and different things like that, and some ideas for some fun games they could do, as well as doing some climbing and abseiling with them and just getting to know them as well. And because there was a large group of us that went, some of us were working on the low ropes course and we're doing the building work there, and the rest of us were doing some of the training with their trainee instructors. So my job, as well as two other people, were to do some discipleship training with the trainee instructors. So we went out with them on the activities and just had some fun, had a laugh, get to know them a little bit. And then we sat down and we did some discipleship training with them, and we did it on the theme of love, to which we based it on chapters like 1 Corinthians 13 and 1 John 13, I believe are the ones that will appear on screen if I got it wrong, which just talk about love, our love for each other and love for God, and why it's important to love people. So we had an awesome time doing that with them as well. Now while we were out there, we had to check out some of the scenery, and so we went on a mountain walk. So we drove to the mountain, Mount Machachu, I believe is the name. And so we left the centre at 4 AM, got to the bottom of the mountain at 5:30 AM, and then started our walk straight away, so that we could be in the shade and out of the sun for as long as possible. So we started walking up the mountain and we bumped into one of the, what's the name? Is he a farmer? He's like a farmer. I'm gonna call him a shepherd. That's what he was. We bumped into a young guy called John. He was a shepherd. Not sure if his name was actually John or if that was just his English name. Either way, he was a pretty cool guy. So we walked up with him for a bit, as well as some of the instructors from the centre we were staying at, and we walked up to the mountain, and it was absolutely incredible. Like, the scenery was just insane, like nothing I'd seen before. It was like getting to the top of a cliff and just like looking out of the ocean in front of you, except it wasn't an ocean, but it was waves of hills. Like, the mountains were wavy and going off, you could see them, like, you could see into the distance all the way up to the horizon. You turn around and you could see some villages and some more mountains the other direction. It was just absolutely insane. Oh, do I look? Oh my days. Oh wow. That is, whew, that is something else. That is absolutely breathtaking. Oh man. There's Moses and Steve, top of mountain, what's the called? So it was an absolutely awesome experience, walking up the mountain, getting to the top and just seeing such beautiful scenery. And it was a lovely day as well, because by the time we got to the top, I think it was something like 9 AM. Yeah, I'm gonna go 9 AM. It was something about that, because it was a bit of a walk up, so it took us a couple of hours to get to the top, and so it was still fairly cool, which was great, and just seeing the scenery was just absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, on the way back down, we literally just got off the peak of the mountain, and my friend put his hand on a loose rock, didn't realise it was loose, and a rock probably about this big slid off towards him. So he goes sliding down this other rock with this huge rock hurtling towards him. He managed to roll out the way, but it just clipped his ankle and then it shattered everywhere. And so we were at the top of a mountain and he fractured his ankle, which then meant we had to walk down the mountain. But we didn't actually know the extent as to how bad his ankle was. It was just slightly swollen and just looked like it was just slightly bruised. So we're like, okay, here's a stick, we'll help you down. And so he then walked all the way down to the bottom of the mountain. Yeah, it wasn't the fastest time, but even still, he managed to do that with a broken ankle, which was absolutely impressive. Like, don't know if I could have done it, but it was awesome. We also went out because we all love climbing, because we're outdoor activity instructors. We went to some mountains that we could see, well, some hills that we could see from the centre, called Lancer's Gap, and we did some climbing there. Took a few of the training instructors and some of the other instructors. We did some climbing, a little bit of bouldering, a little bit of abseiling. We also found another shepherd boy, so we decided to send him down an abseil, which was pretty cool. But the thing is, the rock that we were climbing on had some really good holds, but because of the type of rock it would break off. And so my mate was doing a little bit of bouldering, put his hand on like the perfect hold, like his fingers fit in perfectly. It was absolutely lovely, and then it just fell off and he just fell back onto his back. It was quite funny. It was the one time that I wasn't filming, which I was quite upset about, because it would have been quite funny to have seen that. Either way, he was alright, he didn't hurt himself. That's why I can laugh about it. So once we'd finished doing some of the mountain walking, some of the climbing, and some of the water sports that we were doing, we then went to some of the kids' villages to visit them and see what their houses were like and see how they lived, and to see what the charity actually helped them and did for them. And so we walked around, and as we were walking through this village, like hundreds of kids come running out of nowhere, just wanting to play, just wanting to have some fun. And it was so much fun. We ended up with like 30 kids just following us around. Didn't really know who we were, but they just wanted to play some games, so that's what we did. We went and just had a laugh and taught them the hokey cokey. Which didn't go well. A few kids got stood on. It was fine, they weren't hurt, they laughed it off. It was okay. But we got to see that some of the things that the charity had taught some of the kids in their schools. So they take the kids from the childhood households, they help give them an education, and they help teach them some life skills. So one of the things that they were teaching them was some keyhole gardens, which meant that they could grow like vegetables all year round, so like potatoes, carrots, some herbs and seasoning things, and some grapes and things like that, and so that they could be self-sufficient, so they didn't need a job to survive, but it meant that if they did get a job, they didn't have to spend all of their money on food. They could spend it on other things, like maybe building up their house or buying some more land so they can get some more cattle, or they can get different things like that. So it was absolutely incredible to actually get to experience what the charity were doing for the kids. So it wasn't the fact that we just took some kids, did some activities with them, and they went bye bye, have fun with your own lives. We actually got to see that the charity, we took them doing the activities, but the charity actually work in the background and actually make a huge difference on these kids' lives, which was absolutely awesome to see. So overall, it was an absolutely incredible experience. We got to meet so many wonderful people, we got to do so many wonderful things, and hopefully we'll have blessed so many children and given them a hope and a future that actually, although they've gone through so many difficult things, that they've got Jesus, and that there is a hope for them, that they do have a future, and that they do have a purpose, and that people are praying for them and looking out for them and sharing some love with them. So that was just a little bit of an insight as to what I got up to a couple of weeks ago when we spent 2 weeks in Lesotho on a mission trip. If you're wondering what this is one of the local hats. I don't know if it's in frame. There we go. It's quite cool, I like it. I got it from a guy in the market. The market was pretty interesting. It was yeah, nothing like a market in the UK. Like completely different. You got so many vendors that's like, hey, go to my vendor, I don't speak English, but I'm gonna shout words at you and hope that you come over, woo. And then you had other people that did speak English, but it was more like, hey, come by, or give me money, and things like that. So it was slightly awkward, but it was really cool to see and just experience the culture and some like street food and things like that. So I believe that is all I've got to say for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that you all have a wonderful and amazing week. I've been Stevie T, God bless, and I'll hopefully see you all soon. See ya!